Welcome to Conversations We Needed with Our Parents Growing Up. This is topic 2. I thought Dad left because of me, a child's view of divorce.
Yeah. So, honest conversations about divorce. So, this listener sent in, I think one that I wish they would have had with me as a 5-year-old is they're getting a divorce. The lack of communication led me to believe that it was my fault that my parent left, that I did something wrong, that I was bad, and the belief that the people I love will disappear and I will never see them again. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. This strikes home really hard for me. You know, my parents divorced when I was 3, and I've lived that.
Yeah.
So there are questions about, does Dad really love me? You know, so it's a rough situation to be in. I think it's really difficult for parents to broach that subject, but saying nothing is not the solution. Right. Because it leaves the child to fill in the pieces.
Oh, absolutely.
And that can be so self-harming, basically.
Absolutely, babe. There are so many books that are written now to help children. There's one that I was introduced 2 years ago called It Wasn't the Chocolate Pudding. And it was really a children's book to help them understand that their parents' divorce wasn't because, their sibling smeared chocolate pudding on the wall. Right. Because the divorce came after that incident, right? And then the attachment to that incident then becomes the reason, in a child's mind. Right.
Yeah, and a child who doesn't have that communication can carry whatever story it is for decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
Your
their
whole
entire
life. The entire life, yeah.
So it's just so important to come to some understanding of how do we broach this subject and why do we broach it? And it's so that your child is understanding it's not their fault.
Right, absolutely. Right, even if fights happened that involved the children's doing of things, it is not the child's fault that the parents got a divorce.
So why do you think parents avoid it? Sorry, I jumped in on you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just think, again, like we said previously, they don't have the language. They don't know what to say. Some parents go into blaming, the other. They don't want to accept, their own responsibility. And sometimes there is a parent that has more responsibility, but we both still have responsibility. It is never just one person's responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think it's just hard for us to look at ourselves and to see our part.
Sorry.
I also think that parents often think that the kids don't really understand what's going on, so they don't need to say anything. They're acting normal. Well, that doesn't mean there's not a whole lot going on inside of them. Yeah. Not all kids act out in external ways. A lot of it can become very internal perfectionism.
Sure, and just closing down from fear or freeze response.
Yeah. So thinking about, what this listener may have been longing for, reassurance, clarity, again, age appropriate, emotional safety, in the middle of this transition, because it is a transition and things feel different, and it's not just in their mind and their emotions, but their body too. Things are different. Their world changes. So, just needing someone to explain to them in, again, age-appropriate language that it wasn't their fault. So, reasons parents might avoid.
Well,
shame. Yeah.
And also you're going through whatever your emotional turmoil is yourself again, and I think that this is going to be a common theme, is that we're in the midst of our own emotional struggle as a parent in whatever the major issue is. And this is a big one, your relationship obviously you wouldn't be married if there hadn't been something there. And now there may be grief for the loss of the relationship.
Absolutely.
There may be anger. There may
Yeah.
be, I'm just going to choose myself for now, whatever those things are. And in the midst of that, I think as a parent, we can lose sight of, of being present with our children.
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Saying the wrong thing.
Well, sure.
Family patterns of silence, cultural patterns of silence, right? A lot of things can contribute to why parents don't say anything. They're just hoping that it doesn't impact the kids. I'm not saying that's realistic or healthy. I'm just saying, that they could have that hope. What are we really asking for? Yeah. I don't know, to be considered, to be seen, to be heard, to recognize that the family unit, regardless of the parent's struggle, to the child, it is still a system, it's still a unit. And now it's broken and it's scary.
Yeah. And I mean, children are, they're a genetic combination of the two parents. And so this is speaking from my own experience. There is literally, it's like you're torn in two.
Yeah.
And there's loyalty questions that come up. There's just all kinds of things. And I think opening it up so that your child has permission to ask questions and again, age appropriate, but just allowing that space and taking the time to do that, and also allowing them to grieve. And as a parent, there can be, I think, jealousy too that arises in the midst of your child grieving the absence of the other parent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I experienced that with my mother, I would cry when we'd come back from visiting dad for the summer, just being on the floorboard of the car weeping, and she would get angry. And it was jealousy. I mean, just hurt. I do all this and you must not love me as the parent. And so there's just all these dynamics going on. What do we do?
Right.
What do we do with all that? Communication.
Yeah. Getting support, resources, help. I mean, as a parent,
Yeah.
I think it's difficult for us to find someone who's going to, kindly call us out when we need that, in times when we are feeling, as an adult, emotionally, betrayed or abandoned ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we're so focused on our own experience that we're not really considering the impact, or we're not considering it well on how this is, all the ways this is impacting the child. So, but by opening up the door, like, for my children, when I got divorced, I would, they would ask questions and I would say, there are things that I cannot talk to you about. I choose to not talk to you about right now. But when you are older, I will have those conversations with you.
Right.
But it's not appropriate for me to share with you all the detail of that right now. And so I'm not trying to hide it from you, but I just want you to understand there are certain things you will not understand until you are older. And it can create a lot of confusion if I share a lot of that, right now. But I promise you, when you are older, we will have these conversations.
Right. So being age appropriate, but honest in that process.
Right.
And acknowledging their confusion and maybe frustration too at not being told the whole story, right?
Right. And I think kids can feel some betrayal too. Well, like, don't you trust me?
Right.
Right. And so it's also, addressing that, right? It's not about not trusting you. It's that I need you to trust me. That not sharing this with you right now is the healthiest thing I can do, even if it feels like, by not telling you all the details, that I am harming you or betraying you, right? But that's me making that choice as an adult. So, but yeah, we need permission, to know that even if we're not giving all the answers, that we can still have conversation around it, even if we're not giving a lot of detail. So
sure. And in that process, reaffirming their security and the fact that they're loved.
Absolutely.
This is an adult decision. you are loved and you're safe is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Because again, kids cannot understand the context often when they're younger about what's really happening. Oh, and it still happens when kids are adults because parents don't just get divorced when kids are young kids. But there can be as much silence and as much avoidance and as much shame and as much blame, even if our parents get divorced when we are adult children of them.
Yeah. And as much pain for the child still.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Their system that they have known
Right.
is changing, and it's not their choice.
Right. And they may not have had a clue.
Right. And true.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is a framework? What kind of framework things could people provide?
I think in the midst of a lot of change, doing some things that create groundedness, I think, are really helpful. And so maybe it's finding a story that you can read, over and over, or maybe you take, a similar walk, or you have a particular bedtime, ritual. And it doesn't need to happen at both houses. It just needs to create safety and predictability in your space. You don't need to try to control the other space, right? It's just, you're saying that, I see you, I hear you, I recognize that this is chaotic in your life. And let's create some rituals that we can do that are predictable and feel good and safe and, whatever it is that child and children each need. Because multiple children, they're all going to need something a little different.
I've only had one. You've had four. So you have a sense of all the different personality aspects, right? Because they're very different.
Very different. Absolutely.
Process differently, grieve differently, all of that. Yeah.
Right. And if we're having the conversation, then we can keep learning about them. Yeah. And, the process of divorce, this is not a one and done conversation. This is something, regardless of their age, will happen over years. It will happen over years.
It will. And, something that I had to learn, and I hate to even say it, is, sometimes when you think you're being honest, you're really blaming the other parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And what that can do is drive a wedge between you and your child because they'll be protective and for good reason. Right. I mean, it's not helpful to go down that road. And you very well may because you're human. Right. And recognizing I'm doing that and then addressing it if you went down that road. What do you think?
Again, this is one of those conversations we could have for 10 hours because every divorce situation is so different. We also don't want to lie about who the other parent is. And I think this is where it gets tricky and why seeking guidance from a trusted resource or a professional, again, who is going to question you and help you get clear, to understand the specifics of your situation, to help you find language that is age appropriate. Because we also don't want to encourage, fantasy,
Right.
by creating incongruent, like the child is having an unsafe experience with the other parent, and then we're telling them they're fine. Right.
Yeah.
Or the child is having a safe experience with the other parent, and we're telling them that it's not fine. Right. And so
it's so complex.
It's so complex.
And can be so ugly and so human, right?
Yeah.
And we will make it messy. We will. And I think just giving yourself some grace but recognizing how you're processing through and seeking out resources.
Yes.
And I think it's really important that, and I think we should do this, we'll provide in the comments for not everybody can afford to go see therapists, right?
Right.
And so we'll provide some of the best resources that we know of that are, books or articles, those sorts of things.
Yeah, that people
that
can
people
go.
can turn to
Right.
as a good starting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The conversation matters because when we don't have any conversation, kids just fill in the blanks with wherever they are emotionally, cognitively, what their friends are going through, what they see on TV or movies. They just make it up. And so, silence, avoidance, or denial isn't helpful. Again, it's not having all the answers. It's just saying, this is messy and this is hard. We're trying to be honest with them that this is really complex. And so trying to teach them curiosity so they can build their own resilience, but also learning to trust themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. We often tell our children what they're experiencing and what they're feeling. And this is one of those situations where we're trying to not take that knowing away from them.
Yeah, I think it can be a lot of reasons, but there's rescuing that goes on too. And I think sometimes if we just step back and have a conversation, how are you feeling? And just holding, how we frame it is holding space for
Right.
the other person to have their process and to grieve in
Yeah.
their way, but letting them know they're loved throughout.
I love you.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, babe.
Yeah.
This is hard. It is messy. And you are loved. Yeah. Yeah. Honest. Vulnerable. We don't have to have all the answers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. Whew, like I said, we could talk 10 hours on that conversation. And even as we're recording these, I'm thinking of, there are some things I would like to do with this and in an extended version. So I'm going to start brainstorming that. We can talk about it later.
Exciting. Good.
Yeah. So next one, I knew their roles as parents, but I didn't know them. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks.